Good morning. In the last class, we learnt about the examination of the respiratory system. So, in today's class, we'll see the applied aspects regarding the respiratory system. So, what are all the findings we'll see, and why we have to see these things. So today we will learn about the applied aspect of the clinical examination of the respiratory system. That is, so as we know that in inspection, so we'll see first the shape of the chest. So shape of the chest is should be bilaterally symmetrical. Non-cross section, it will be elliptical in shape. That is, transverse diameter will be more than that of the anteroposterior diameter. So there are few abnormalities. So these can be detected by while doing the inspection. So we'll see the different deformities of the chest wall. So one is the barrel shaped chest. So here there will be increase in the anteroposterior diameter of the chest. Usually the ratio of transverse to anteroposterior diameter is 7:5, but here the anteroposterior diameter will increase. So what will happen? The shape of the chest will be barrel. So this is usually seen in chronic obstructive lung disorder like emphysema. So here the ribs are wide apart and tend to be horizontal. The sternum is more arched. Angle of Louis will be more prominent. So all these are the features of the barrel shaped chest. And the spine is unduly concave. So this is about the barrel shaped chest. And then the funnel chest. So funnel shaped chest, the features are depression at the lower end of the sternum, and then the prominent costochondral junction and diminished anteroposterior diameter of the chest. So that is the funnel shaped chest. This is usually seen in rickets. Sometimes it may be congenital. And then pigeon shaped chest. So the sternum is unduly prominent and projects beyond the plane of the front of the abdomen. So this is usually seen in rickets. So pigeon shaped chest. So these are the different deformities of the chest. One more is the flat chest. So this is associated with the long neck, prominent larynx and clavicle, and long narrow chest, flat chest. So features are exaggerated supra and infraclavicular fossa, narrow intercostal spaces and acute subcostal angle. So these are the features of the flat chest. So this also may be seen in rickets, it may be seen in tuberculosis, and it is one of the cause for flat chest is chronic nasal obstruction from hypertrophied adenoid. So these are all the causes for these deformities of the chest, shape of the chest. Kyphosis means the backward bending of the vertebral column, resulting in convexity posteriorly and concavity anteriorly. So this causes the shortening of the chest and undue prominence of the vertebra. This is usually seen in osteoarthritis, chronic obstructive emphysema, ankylosing spondylitis, so osteoarthritis. So all these are the causes for kyphosis. Scoliosis means the lateral bending of the spine. So lateral bending of the spine and rotation of the vertebra resulting in undue prominence of the chest and scapula on the side of the convexity. So these are the different deformities of the chest. Coming to the symmetry of the chest, that is, the symmetry means it should be symmetric, bilaterally symmetrical. So sometimes what will happen, one side it will be depressed or one side it will be bulged. So the causes for bulging will be pleural effusion, pneumothorax, or any thoracic, intrathoracic tumors. Whereas the collapse of the lung, fibrosis of the lungs on one side, they causes the depression on one side. And you may see bilateral depression, that is, if there is bilateral collapse of the lung, bilateral fibrosis, so there will be bilateral depression, and you will see the bilateral bulging also, that is seen in bilateral pleural effusion, bilateral pneumothorax. So all these are the causes for the asymmetry of the chest. Next is the movements of the chest. You should look for the movements of the chest, that is, it is around 12 to 18 minutes, 12 to 16 minutes per minute. So if there is increase in the respiratory rate, you call it as tachypnea, and decrease in the respiratory rate, it is called bradypnea. So causes for tachypnea, so physiologically it's seen in newborns, children. So a gender, that is, rate of respiration is higher in women, and excitement, exercise. So all these are the causes for physiological increase. Whereas pathological increases like hypoxia, for example, pneumonia causes tachypnea. Next, causes of bradypnea, decreased respiratory rate. So this is usually seen in CNS depression. Example, narcotic poisoning. So this about the movements, respiratory movements. So coming to the rhythm, so irregular respiration is commonly seen in intracranial lesions. Then depth, so the respiration may be decreased unilaterally or on both the sides. Unilateral restriction is seen in pleural effusion, pneumothorax, fibrosis, collapse. Whereas bilateral restriction of movements is seen in bilateral pneumothorax, bilateral consolidation, emphysema. So all these are the causes for the depth, so that is abnormality in the depth of respiration. So this is about the depth of respiration. And then coming to the type, that is males abdominothoracic and females thoraco-abdominal. And you should also look for the different types of abnormal respiration, that is Kussmaul's breathing, which is also called air hunger, where there is increased in the rate and depth of respiration. And then Biot's breathing, Kine-Stokes breathing. So all these things you should see during inspection. So coming to the palpation. So here you are looking for the expansion of the chest. So normally at the base of the lungs, so the expansion will be more than 5 centimeter. So it is always less on the side of the chest that is affected by the disease of the chest wall or the lung. So if there is a disease of the chest wall or the lung, so the expansion reduces. Next, you should look for the position of the apex and trachea. So in the last class I mentioned that the apex beat will be shifted towards lateral, so when there is mediastinum shift. So the fibrosis and the collapse of the lung, so mediastinum shifts to the same side, and when there is pneumothorax, hydrothorax and all, or pleural effusion, so the mediastinum shifts to the opposite side. So that you should know. So that's about the position of the apex beat and the position of the trachea. For example, apex beat is present in the left fifth intercostal space, half an inch medial to the midclavicular line in the fifth intercostal space. So for example, if there is a pleural effusion on the right side, so what will happen? It pushes the mediastinum to the opposite side. So what will happen? So when there is shift of mediastinum shift, the apex beat may be still more lateral. So the apex beat you won't feel in the normal position, it will be still more lateral. So that's why you should look for the position of the apex beat, and the trachea also it will be shifted if there is any disorders of the lungs. So that's why you should look for position of the trachea as well. So in the last class I mentioned the steps how to palpate for the position of the trachea. So next, in the ocal fremitus. So ocal fremitus, so the procedure explained, that is you should ask the subject to tell 1-1 or 9-9, and then the simultaneously with the ulnar side of the hand, so palpate over the areas which I mentioned in the last class, so and compare simultaneously with the opposite side. So VF, this vocal fremitus, is increased in consolidation of the lungs, for example pneumonia and large cavity near the chest surface, whereas vocal fremitus is decreased in fibrosis, collapse, bronchial obstruction, emphysema. So all these are the conditions where the vocal fremitus is decreased. Next, tenderness, that is tenderness means if there is any inflammatory conditions of the ribs, then some cancers, malignant conditions, so that also may cause the tenderness, painful lesions of the lungs, pleurisy. So all these things, there will be tenderness will be present. So next, coming to the percussion. So percussion is done. The last class I explained the procedure. So whether so this is carried out to detect the limit of lung resonance. Usually the lungs are resonant to percuss. If water is there, you will feel the dull note, whereas if you percuss over the lung regions, there will be a resonant note. So resonance, it is a relative term as there is no absolute standard. The cardiac dullness is noted on the left side between the third and fifth space, and hepatic dullness is noted on the right side from the fifth rib downwards in the midclavicular line, eighth rib downwards in the mid axillary line, and 10th rib downwards in the mid scapular line. So this you should know where you will feel the dullness when you are percussing. So this is normal, that is the cardiac dullness is noted on the left side between the third and fifth space, and hepatic dullness is noted on the right side from the fifth rib downwards in the mid clavicular line, eighth rib downwards in the mid axillary line, and 10th rib downwards in the mid scapular line. So this is about the percussion. So the percussion is expressed as resonant, hyperresonant, dullness, stony dullness. So all these are the different things. So normally the lungs are resonant to percuss. So hyperresonant, where you will see it's seen in emphysema, pneumothorax, and a large cavity. So all these things, large superficial cavity, so all these things produces the hyperresonance. Next, dullness. So dullness is present in consolidation, fibrosis, collapse, thickened pleura. Stony dullness will you will see in when there is water. Okay, so that is in the pleural effusion. So dullness and stony dullness means when the dullness is more, that is notice very dull, then it is called stony dullness. It is seen in pleural effusion. And one more thing is shifting dullness, that is when the person moves, the dullness also shifts. So this is seen in hydropneumothorax. So this is about the percussion. So this is about the percussion, and the last is the auscultation, so which I explained in the last class, that is the vesicular breath sounds and the bronchial breath sounds. These are the breath sounds you will normally hear, but the vesicular breath sounds are the sounds which you will hear all over the lung fields. So vesicular breath sounds, the differences are there for vesicular breath sounds and the bronchial breath sounds. So vesicular breath sounds, so the normal character of breath sounds is vesicular. So these sounds originate in the larger airways, but when transmitted through the lung tissue to the chest wall, they become low pitched vesicular sounds. So the characteristics of these is inspiration, of the duration of inspiration will be more than that of the expiration. Intensity of inspiration is more greater than that of the expiration, and there is no gap between inspiration and expiration. Sounds are rustling in nature, and then they are low pitched of frequency between 200 to 600 hertz. So that's about the vesicular breath sounds. Whereas bronchial breath sounds, the duration of expiration is equal to the duration of inspiration. Intensity of expiration is greater than that of the inspiration. There is a definite gap between the inspiration and the expiration. They are harsh, high pitched, and frequencies above 600 hertz. So this is difference between the bronchial breath sounds and the vesicular breath sounds. So vesicular breath sounds, so the breath sounds, so this usually originate in the large airways due to the turbulent airflow during breathing. Sounds produced in the large airways are of high frequencies, that is above 600 hertz. So these sounds are transmitted to the lung tissue, which acts as a low pass filter, filtering out high frequency sounds and converting them into the low frequency sounds that are transmitted to the chest wall. So that's why it's vesicular. Therefore sounds auscultated from the chest wall are vesicular, whereas vesicular breath sounds, though the sounds originate in the large airways. So that's about the breath sounds. So vesicular breath sounds and the bronchial breath sounds. So bronchial breath sounds, there are different different types of bronchial breath sounds, that is tubular, cavernous, and amphoric. Tubular breath sound is a high pitched sound resulting from the passage of vibrations produced in the small bronchi directly to the chest wall through a solid lung tissue. This is usually seen when the lung parenchyma becomes a solid mass like consolidation. Next, the cavernous is a low pitched bronchial breath sounds heard over a cavity, so which is situated superficially and communicated to a patent bronchus. The amphoric bronchial breath sound is a high pitched bronchial sound that resembles the sound produced by blowing air into a wide mouth bottle. So this is heard over a very large cavity communicating pneumothorax. So this is about the different type of the breath sounds. So next reduced intensity. So reduced intensity of these breath sounds, so that also you should know. Reduced intensity, that is seen in airway narrowing, that is bronchial obstruction with or without collapse of the lung, consolidation, so then damage to the lung tissue, fibrosis, then interference in transmission of sounds like thickened pleura, pleural effusion, pneumothorax. In all these conditions, so the intensity of the breath sounds will be reduced. Increased intensity is seen in physiological thin subjects and then compensatory emphysema. So there will be increased intensity of the breath sound. So next, coming to the vocal resonance, this is the counterpart of vocal fremitus. So there you are palpating and here you are hearing through the stethoscope. So here also, so increased vocal resonance. So increased vocal resonance, that is when the sounds appear to be nearer to the ear than the chest piece and louder than the normal, so that the vocal resonance is said to be increased. And this is of three types, that is vocal resonance, that is bronchophony, egophony and whispering pectoriloquy. So if the vocal resonance is increased and appears to arise from the earpiece of the stethoscope, it is described as bronchophony. It is high pitched and it is seen in lobar pneumonia. Egophony, when the increased vocal range is high pitched, giving a nasal intonation or having a bleating character, goat voice, it is called egophony. Then whispering pectoriloquy, if the vocal resonance is increased to such an extent that the sounds become very clear and seems to be spoken right in front of the ear, so this is called whispering pectoriloquy. This is tested by asking the subject to whisper, not speaking loudly. So this is increased vocal resonance. So these are of three types. Then decreased is seen in the pleural effusion, pneumothorax, collapse, emphysema. So that's about the vocal resonance, and these are all the adventitious sounds or added sounds. So this you should know: rhonchi, wheeze, crepitations, pleural rub, and then stridor. So these are the different sounds. So these sounds may arise from the lungs and bronchi or pleura. So the sounds that arise from the lungs and bronchi are rhonchi, wheeze, stridor and crepitations, whereas pleural rub arises from the pleura. Rhonchi, these are prolonged, uninterrupted musical sounds. Prolonged, uninterrupted musical sounds mainly occurs due to the partial obstruction to the flow of air in a narrowed bronchus. This is usually seen in bronchial asthma, bronchitis, or obstruction of bronchial tube by a tumor or any foreign body. So these are the musical sounds, prolonged, uninterrupted musical sounds. So that usually occurs when there is obstruction, partial obstruction to the flow of air in a narrowed bronchus. So this is usually seen in bronchitis, bronchial asthma, or if there is any obstruction to the bronchial tube by a tumor or any foreign body. So the narrowing of the lumen of the airway may occur due to mucosal swelling or any secretion. So that is about the rhonchi. Next, coming to the wheeze. These are high pitched musical sounds. So this also occurs from partial airway obstruction. This is louder and more persistent during expiration. This also usually seen during acute attacks of asthma. So this can be heard without the aid of a stethoscope. Then coming to the stridor. So this stridor means it is a jerky, high pitched and coarse sound usually heard during inspiration. It occurs due to obstruction to the inspiratory airflow due to airway obstruction. This is seen in foreign body impaction, tumor and diphtheria. So next coming to the crepitations. So this is very important. These are the most discontinuous crackling type of or bubbling sounds produced in the alveoli, bronchi or in the cavities. So these are of two types, fine crepitations and the coarse crepitations. So fine crepitations caused by the opening of collapsed alveoli. It occurs at the end of an inspiration and indicates the presence of exudate in the alveoli. Whereas coarse crepitations, so these are heard in any phase of respiration and indicate the presence of the secretion in the bronchi. It is usually seen in the bronchitis, polycystic disease of the lungs, bronchiectasis. Whereas fine crepitations, these are heard in pneumonia, tuberculosis. Then coming to the pleural rub, that is if there is any inflammation of the pleura, that is if there is any inflammation of the pleura, you will see the pleural rub. So this is a rough, harsh crackling sound produced by the rubbing of visceral and parietal pleura against each other during respiration. So that's about the pleural rub. This is usually seen in inflammatory conditions of the pleura. So it disappears when the subject is asked to hold his breath and remains unaffected by coughing. So this about the added sounds. So this is the basic clinical examination of the respiratory system. So first you should do the general physical examination, that is what are all the signs that give a clue that suggests there may be a lung pathology. So look for all those signs which I told in the last class and then do the respiratory system examination, that is inspection, palpation, percussion and auscultation. Inspection, what are all the things you have to see and why you have to see all these things you should know. And then palpation, that is inspectory findings are confirmed by palpation. And then do the percussion, and then at last the auscultation, that is by using the stethoscope you have to hear the lung fields and you have to note down the type of breath sound and then the intensity of the sound. So all these things you should know, and if there is any added sounds. And in auscultation look for vocal resonance. So inspection, you have to inspect, so movement of the chest, position of the trachea, position of the apex beat, and then shape of the chest. So all these things you should know in inspection. Coming to the palpation, so you have to look for the position, you have to palpate for the position of the trachea, position of the apex beat, measure the transverse diameter, measure the IP diameter, and then expansion of the chest, and then vocal fremitus tenderness. So all these things you have to see. Then percussion should be done in all the lung fields, so which I explained, which the divided into different areas, which I explained in the last class. So percuss it. So if there is resonant, then it's a normal lung. So if there is any hyper resonant and dullness, you should know all these things. At last the auscultation, that is the auscultating the breath sounds and do the vocal resonance. Vocal resonance is counterpart of vocal fragmentus. Okay, thank you.